Thank you for joining us today, and happy Earth Day. I'm Jeannie Long, Executive Director of Chicago Collections Consortium. And if you're joining us for the first time today, welcome. And for those of you who are returning listeners, it's great to have you back with us. We'd like to begin our program with Chicago Collections Land Acknowledgement Statement. Chicago Collections Consortium acknowledge and is grateful for the Native people who laid the foundations for the city of Chicago and for the diverse Indigenous nations that reside in Chicago today. When you visit our member organizations and when you experience Chicago outdoor spaces, we invite you to join in offering respect and gratitude to the many Indigenous peoples that reside in the Chicagoland region, as well as their ancestors. Today's program's Conversations with Chicago Collections spotlights our member archival holdings, allowing listeners for a quick look at their fascinating collections. Before we begin with our conversation with Leora Siegel, Chicago Botanic Garden Senior Director at the Lenhardt Library, I'd like to thank CCC donors whose generous support has allowed us to continue be able to offer programs like this one being offered today. Additionally, their funding supports CCC's cornerstone initiative, ExploreChicagoCollections.org. I invite you to go online to CCC's website to check out other upcoming programs in celebration of CCC's 10-year anniversary. And also invite you to sign up for a newsletter, which is located at the bottom of our homepage. So let's begin our discussion. Welcome, Leora.
Hi, Jeannie. Thank you for hosting today. Thank you for inviting the Chicago Botanic Garden to participate. So I am Leora. I am the Senior Library Director at the Chicago Botanic Gardens Lenhardt Library, and I'm the garden archivist. And I'm both a practicing librarian and a director, and I wear a lot of hats. So for today, I'm happy to share a little bit about my organization and then to share hidden treasures with you from our archives.
Great, let's get started. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of the Chicago Botanic Garden, Leora?
Sure. So you may know the Chicago Botanic Garden is a beautiful place, which it absolutely is. But we are also an accredited museum with the American Alliance of Museums. And with that, we track our living collections. And as you might imagine, a living museum is different than, let's say, a history museum where you accession an object, you give it a number, you put it on the shelf, and there it is. With living collections, with plants as your collection, plants get diseases, they die, things happen. So there's interesting challenges in that way. So, there are a lot of events that happen at the Chicago Botanic Garden, some large scale like the Orchid Show or Lightscape that you might have heard of. And then there's lots of little things, little events happening all the time, smaller events. We have a very robust science department. The Nagani Institute for Plant Conservation Science in Action studies threatened and endangered species, native species, invasive species, and is training the next generation of plant scientists to combat climate change and the like. And we also have a large education division. So there's a nature preschool and little adorable toddlers on the grounds outside every day, rain, sun, or shine. There's school field trips with school buses of kids, happy kids arriving, teacher training, adult education, in person, online, the works. And then the garden has a large urban agriculture program mostly in Chicago. The farm on Ogden is the base. Again, training individuals to work in urban settings. And then there are the collections, the museum collections, plants, herbaria, seeds, DNA, and the library and archives fitted at that point.
Let's learn more about the library and archives. What can you tell us, Leora?
Sure. Happy to share. So we say one of the great treasures of the Chicago Botanic Garden is the Lenhardt Library. And we are a research library supporting the science division and every staff person at the garden. And our collections are focused on botany, gardening, horticulture, landscape design, and everything the Chicago Botanic Garden mission touches. Kids books, rare books, everything is on that subject. So in our online catalog, we have about 45,000 titles. That translates to 150,000 items, and that's a low number. We have ebooks, databases, and we're a circulating library that not everybody knows. So a member of the Chicago Botanic Garden can borrow books right on site. And if you're not a member, we loan books to public libraries for you or to your university for you through Rails. We're a member of Rails. And we are happy to do that and get our collection out. And our subject area is very much in print still. So we still have a large print collection. And part of our library is the rare book collection and the archives. And really in our library, we focus on our collections of all of them, and digitization as possible, and collaboration such as this one with CCC. But for our subject specific materials that we've digitized, we work with, we're part of the Biodiversity Heritage Library, which is an incredible organization. If you don't know about it, take a peek. It's libraries, international libraries, botanic gardens, natural history museums, and universities from all over the world adding their unique collections to one portal, all virtual, to share freely across the world biodiversity materials for climate scientists, for artists. There are about 60 million pages at this point, a Flickr site with 500,000 natural history images pulled out and tagged. So there's a wealth of knowledge there. And then for us in our library, so we're small. So we have a LibGuide with our digital content pulled together in tabs by subject with blog posts and stories that have been written about some of the books, so you can get a deep dive into our botanical assets.
And what an incredible resource. I don't, having visited you at the library and seeing the materials available, to members, what a great resource that I don't think many of our listeners are aware of, that as a member of Chicago Botanic, one can check out materials and have access to that. Oh, that's awesome.
And I will add that we serve staff at our institution. That is one of our primary, this is all wonderful stuff, but our primary is to make sure our staff, the scientists, the educators, the grounds crew have the resources that they need to do their jobs. So that is one of our core missions. And then yes, for library visitors, this is all open to you. Do a deep dive into whatever your passion is: roses, bonsai, orchids, cookbooks.
It's all there.
So yes, thanks. I'd love to tell you a little bit about our rare book collection. Again, if you don't know about it, we purchased an incredible rare book collection almost 20 years ago, October 2002, from the Massachusetts Horticulture Society in the Boston area. And it is the primary sources, the base of literature of what we do at this museum, at this Botanic Garden, and it is an incredible treasure. It made the Chicago Tribune cover on that day. We have cut and pasted it all to look nice. Wasn't all top center, but it was front page news, and it's just an amazing collection. I never ever grow tired of walking in and putting together a program, getting to hold the books, look at the books. It never gets tired. It's just an incredible opportunity for this garden and for visitors. And from it, we've had incredible support from the National Endowment for the Humanities to catalog at the beginning, and to conserve and to digitize some of the pieces. And it is our shared cultural treasures, some of our museum pieces, so to speak, some of the history. And we do exhibits in the library, small exhibit cases, vitrines up front when you walk in, but we always try to have some rare books out for you to walk in and see. And we run programs around the rare book collection as we can. And I will say our oldest book, we have 2 incunables. Our oldest book is that we got is from 1483.
That's amazing. And diving into a little bit more on the archival collection, we're so thrilled to have the opportunity with Explorers, Chicago Collections Explore portal to share some of your archival resources. But tell us a little bit more about what people can find in the collection.
Well, we can, in our archival collections, we have papers going back to our founding in 1890. The Horticulture Society of Chicago, words reversed, was founded and then kind of went under and then restarted again in 43. And so we have early papers, we have the reincorporation papers. We sit on Forest Preserve District land in Glencoe. And I do want to, although Jeannie, you've already read a land acknowledgement, I also want to acknowledge that long before the Forest Preserve of Cook County was established in 1914 and became stewards of the land where our garden is right now, Native Americans lived and thrived on this land for millennia. And we're its caretakers now. So we have materials on that, how that happened in archives. And then this garden actually opened in 1972. It's our 50th anniversary, which I'll tell you about in a little bit. And it's non-current records of our institution is what is in our archives. And for the 1890 125th anniversary in 2015, you're looking at a book cover, Chicago and its Botanic Garden by Kathy Jean Maloney. And this is our go-to source. This is Kathy, I worked with her and she mined the archives. We got a lot of great information out of the archives into this book. It's a Northwestern University press book. And if you ask us questions, that is our go-to spot. And our archives are not open to the public. They are very small comparative to other organizations that are part of CCC. And that's why CCC is so vital and important to us. So we don't have a front page necessarily for our archive collections, but through CCC with the other members of this incredible collaboration, it all comes together and has a story to tell. And I love that we were able to participate in a digital exhibit with CCC Wild in Chicago. I think that was before COVID.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, when was everything? And that was with our other CCC partners, Chicago Academy of Sciences, the Peggy Notabart Nature Museum, and the Lincoln Park Zoo and North Central College. And it's on the website, the CCC website. So a little taste of wild in Chicago, Chicago history. So.
And that was a prime example, it's what you showed, Leora, that the archival collections can be, through digital exhibits, can be in conversation with each other on a topic. And that's a wonderful example, and we'll invite our listeners to check it out on our website, chicagocollections.org.
Yeah, small and little bits, mighty together.
Yes.
So now I'd love to share some hidden treasures, things that you would even staff here probably don't know about. You're looking at the inside front cover of a records book of our early institution. We miscellaneous records of the Horticulture Society of 1890 to 1904. This is digitized in the Illinois Digital Archives, thanks to a grant from the Illinois State Library. And it is 130, so jumping back 132 years ago, this is our prized historic object. It is the early records of our institution, the earliest and the only earliest that we have it. It's like the Secretary Records book. But if you see in the mess, and I just love the mess, the names on the bottom, there's Selfridge, and there's Uline, and there's Ryerson, Hutchinson, Buckingham, and on pages as you turn through, there's Rand and McNally, Allerton, Armour, and so many other civic leaders of Chicago at that day came together and said, let's have a horticulture society to share the love of gardening with the Chicago region. So, and here we are all these years later. And in the early years, the Chicago Horticultural Society did what it did through flower shows, annual flower shows. So we're looking at postcards from the 15th annual show in 1906 and the 16th in 1907. And these are in Explore. And on some of the postcards that we have in Explorer, you can read the back, I think, as well, and hear the messages. But at this time, 100+ years ago, postcard, you didn't upload a photo to Facebook, you sent a postcard to your loved ones. So it's fun to have these in our collection to share that snapshot in time. And there are
truly that capture of that moment too is a wonderful souvenir that, you know, still continues too.
Yeah. And the postcard industry at the time supported it. People were producing postcards. That's what you did. You went and you bought a postcard. So I had mentioned that our institution went under and then restarted in 1943. And then in 1945, Garden Talk, and it says Talks, but later it's Talk, premiered. And there were 3 issues that year. And the magazine was the method of communication for the society, sharing out information. And in the blue, the inset in the cover is Humboldt Park Rose Garden. So, and then in the green, it is a school children's garden in Lincoln Park. So really Chicago based, because the society was in Chicago. Offices, it was office space in Chicago doing the work of the organization. So this is before the 1972 date that I mentioned. So these are fun ones. And then Garden Talk ceased printing until 1953. Some other things happening behind the scenes. And then it continued until 2007, straight through. And then there was a name change to keep growing where it is today. So it's these are also digitized in the Illinois Digital Archives, and all of the covers are in Explore. So you can see the changing of the guard, the changing of the times.
And from the city, as you said, you know, having the location being in the city, what's been captured on topic. So
yeah, it was about Chicago. Yeah. And then here's a 1958 Garden Talk, February 1958. And in it, it discusses the founding of the library that happened in 1951. So, and there we're looking at the library, and there was a Kilner collection of books that are on those shelves, and we still have those collection dispersed. There's beautiful, there's a Kilner book plate. So that is our origin story for our archives, but that's for our library, but the history of the library is in the archives, even though the archives is a subset of the library. So, what you're looking at here is a 1965 groundbreaking for the site in Glencoe, the Forest Preserve District land. And
which is really amazing to me when you think, okay, 1965 wasn't that long ago. And when a visitor comes to the site in Glencoe, what is there, and how far as an organization, what's been established, you know, it's pretty phenomenal. And also when we talk about what's been established in Chicago and the outreach of Chicago Botanic Garden, it amazes me just on the topic, and I know you'll go into this later, but in terms of garden design, but you know, Chicago weather period, what was up against in terms of making that the garden you know, usable for what the intentions were. So
yeah, there's a remarkable number of very talented people who work here now, who have worked here. So in order to open in 1972, a lot had to happen, starting with the groundbreaking to get to 72, to have something to open the doors to. The planners who got the land here worked with Springfield and Forest Preserve to get land established here, to fundraise in order for that to happen, and then to plan. So we have 28 gardens today. That's a lot of gardens to take shape in not so many years. And we are young compared to our Botanic Garden colleagues.
Yeah, so young.
Yeah. So here, before we opened, we're looking at a 1971 illustrative site plan. I love the drawing, the garden landscape design drawings. I love those. So here's one, and there's water. The garden is 9 islands, and you can see the water, you can see the buildings, you can see how there's a parking lot. So not everything is exactly in those positions, but there were plans. And then by 74, opened in 72, by 74, we're looking at the foundation site for the Regenstein Center, the building that the library is in right now. So it opened as the education center, and not much around it right now. You can see there's nothing on the Japanese islands. So you can see it on the way. So again, I love those kind of things. And then yes, the Japanese islands, I love these images. So the early plans, the Elizabeth Hubert Malat Japanese Garden opened in 1982 and then was rededicated in 2006. And these are early plans. So on the right, you can see the 3 islands, the central end of 3 islands, and you can see in yellow the walking path, because the 3rd island no one walks on. And there's a zigzag bridge, if that's familiar to you, and you can see it in the middle between the 2 islands, kind of mid picture. And then down at the bottom, there's the arch bridge, which you can see in red. So I love these images. And then on the left, Koichi Kawana was the landscape designer of this island, the 3 islands, a Japanese garden. And he has signed the artwork on the left. And he was a different type of landscape designer with the Japanese islands. He personally pointed and placed to where to place that stone, where to place that shrub, where to place that tree. You might think of more of or today it's on AutoCAD, but big drawings and square lines, and this goes here and this goes there. So underground, there's the water lines are all, constructed like that. But his vision, the beautiful, or the artistic vision of the garden was actually an artistic view. He was there to place every piece in its proper place. And just a taste of the walled garden. Okay, one more concept, beautiful drawing of what the English walled garden looks like. And then the English walled garden, a photo taken by our garden photographer, Robin Carlson. And this garden opened in 1991. And it doesn't look like that yet. It's still a little early outside, but it will look like that in the middle of summer.
And hopefully with some sunshine too. Yeah.
And then in our archives, we've had some notable visits here. So we have some record of that. Her Royal Highness, the Princess Margaret, visited in 1991 to open the English walled garden, which we just saw photos of. She's in the darker color coat, and she's sitting with Janet Meekenpour, who was the board president of the Chicago Horticultural Society, Chicago Botanic Garden at that time, and they just have great smiles. They just look like they're really having a fun time and have connected together. So really enjoy that photo. And then when Barbara Bush was First Lady, she visited as well, and she and then again Janet Meekenpour and Chris Jarontowski are on that arched bridge leaving the Japanese islands. So it looks like to me. So fun to have some of these photos in the archives. And the archives also has recent deposits, so to speak. So you're looking at a plant patent, the cover of a plant patent. Inside is more description, and there's some color photos. And one of our plant scientists, he patented 37 plants while he worked here. He retired just this past December in 2001, and he deposited the plant patents with his name in Chicago Botanic Garden and Chicagoland Grows in the archives, just as he was leaving. He held on to them the whole time. So prized possession. So I'm happy to have those in the archives. And we get new material all the time internally. And then there's born digital material we try to capture on a continual basis, emails to membership, internal documentation. So in 25 years, whoever wants to do an exhibition or a retrospective will have information documents about our organization going forward in the archives. And then, yes, it's our 50th anniversary this year. And this is a preview of what the logo and everything will be. Flourish, the Garden at 50 hasn't been released yet, but it will be shortly. And it's so a preview of some summer events. So in just a few weeks in mid-May, this will be announced. And there's art installations that will be outdoors on the grounds, specifically created by artists for this celebration. And it's a celebration, so to speak, with a happy, upbeat theme. And there'll be pop-up events, and there'll be interactive exhibitions to take visitors back through time. And that's where the archives fits in. The pieces from the archives will be in an exhibition, a physical exhibition, and there's a video crew doing videos. So construction documents will be some B-roll and some of the videos. So it was fun to pull out early documents, building of this place for the video team. And the library will have an exhibition as well, as we do in our cases, I had mentioned. And our theme in this art theme will be artist books in our exhibit. So whereas an artist book is an artist does their artistic craft and vision in the shape of a book. That's our definition of an artist book. There's some other definitions. So we'll have a few on view and with some descriptions and their inspirations of the artists' inspirations of how they came to creating these books. And the inspirations were rare books. So we'll do some talks and have the rare books out during the talk, so we can get a full sense of the artists. So we're looking forward to that this summer.
And I'm sure our listeners can get a complete listing of events as related to the anniversary on your website, but tell us, how do visitors come for a visit? How is that arranged and planned?
So there is a new entry fee at the garden. If you haven't been here in some time, instituted just this past February. So if you are a member of the Chicago Botanic Garden, there's no parking is free and entry is free. And with this new change to the admission policy, everything is free when you get inside. Their tram rides are free, the butterfly house is free, the railroad garden is free, everything is included. Not the big events like Whitescape. And if you're not a member and you come out, you can take the Metro and walk, you can take a bus, you can ride your bicycle, or you can park. And the parking fee is greatly reduced. It's only $8 now. And then you pay per person to come in. And the day that you come in determines the price. So weekends are a little bit more, weekdays are a little bit less. And again, everything is free when you get in. So plan to spend the whole day. And so just one little shout out for membership, not that I'm trying to woo anybody here, but if you're a member, you do get to use, well, everyone is welcome to use the library. You do get to borrow books from the library. Take 8 of them home with you if you like. And you also get to use our ebook collection. So there's some advantages to other advantages besides free parking.
Well, absolutely. And can't forget about the incredible Chicago Botanic gift shop as well. So discounts in the gift shop, but yeah, membership is certainly key. And we had talked, previously and it's a multi-generational experience for, families bringing young children to, there's something for everyone basically at Chicago Botanic Garden. And it's just, as we pointed out several times in our conversation today, just how very young Chicago Botanic Garden is in its location. There's a lot to celebrate with your anniversary, and we really appreciate you taking the time for the conversation today, Leora, and just giving us a glimpse in the capture of that history and how well it's maintained and shared your methods for sharing that history through vehicles like Explore Chicago Collections, but really appreciate your time today and sharing the news of Chicago Botanic.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting us. And this is just a taste, and just another shout out to Chicago Collections Consortium for allowing us to have a front page, to be in a portal with our colleagues in Chicago. It's so important to us to be able to share this out with, as I said, we're not open to the public. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Happy Earth Day.